The bell tolls 7 times, for Nurgle's champions have arrived. The purple plague has come for you. Today on Army Focus, we're going to be looking at the past year of work on my army, the Purple Plague.
Anvil of War! Army Focus!
What's up, guys? We're here on Army Focus today to talk to you guys about my Nurgle army, the Purple Plague. And for some of you guys who've been watching the channel for a while, you might be thinking, wait, didn't you do an Army Focus like a year ago? Yes, I did, and that was my Death Guard Army Focus. You can follow it down in the link somewhere, I'm sure. But this one is kind of the labor of love from the past year, and after that video, things kind of changed. I started going in a different direction with my painting, and the army itself started to shift into what it is today, which is known as the Purple Plague. So I did have a Death Guard collection, and I kind of suffered the same pitfall as any new collector. I got into the army, I really loved the models, and I didn't really go in with a plan, so I had started painting them all just like similar to the box art and kind of deviating only here and there with slight color changes. But something happened when all of a sudden I had a bunch of plague bearers to paint, and I realized I didn't want to paint them green. Like, I wanted to do kind of a pale flesh and do a purple tone. Well, that transpired into realizing that all my mortal followers of Nurgle wanted to pay tribute to the Purple Plague, this new kind of demonic entity that was coming out of the warp. And that was the next year of my life painting. Was I'm going to update everything. I'm going to change everything over to purple. We're going to go in a new direction with my Death Guard. And in the meantime, I also am painting a giant Nurgle Demons army. So today on Army Focus, we're going to be showing you kind of the amalgamation of the two forces. You're going to see some of the older models are still painted with old schemes that haven't been converted over, but you're also going to see some of those models that were in the previous video have since been repainted or updated for color changes. And it's really quite something to behold. So I'm really proud of this army and where it's become. And we're going to show you a lot of it today. So let's get started. So I kind of touched on it, and for artistic inspiration, this army kind of came out of the Plague Bearers and me just wanting to kind of set something different in a different direction and start painting my Nurgle Demons in a different way from your typical Nurgle green or what have you. I would say they were the catalyst for this whole army and the entire journey after that, where everything had to become recolored, was because I really liked the way the purple looked. And there's something when you say purple Nurgle that just kind of like stays on your tongue. So that was something that really kind of picked up on me, and I just fell in love with it, and I started going purple everything. So it went from Plague Bearers to the HQ units, and then all of a sudden we got Great Unclean Ones going purple, and then we started seeing the Death Guard shift in their colors too. So I brought a lot of different models for us to kind of look at today and go through. Some of the main ones that I want to show you guys are units like my Typhus or some of the Great Unclean Ones, just because they kind of exemplify what the Purple Plague has become. Now, I tried to imagine like what the Purple Plague is, like why does it turn your skin purple, and how can this like wounding plague be transpired in the lore of 40K? Well, the way I think of it is like, as opposed to like a rotting sickness that overtakes whatever host gets felt by it, the Purple Plague is different in that all your skin starts to bruise and crack, and then instead of like slime coming out of all the guys, I've made it really gory, and like it's like kind of blood and like blood pustules and stuff. So it's like your insides are starting to boil and pop, and that kind of gives that look to this like slimy, bloody Nurgle army that has this kind of bruised, wounded flesh that is, if you look close at some of the units, I've actually dry brushed some pinks around, so it's like sore and painful. I kept a lot of the classic horn colors from previous armies just because I like the way that those horns work, and I use washes to kind of give the base of the horn some separation as it all comes into a point. But a huge key that I found while painting this army that was really interesting was some of the greens that I decided to include. I wanted to have an accent color that really went nice with the purple and kind of pushed in a different direction and kind of caught your eye. So I went with Scale 75's green tones from their fantasy set. Want to do a big shout out to my friend Marco, who got me set up with those paints and kind of forever changed the way my hobby went from there, because these paints are really quite something, and I like how they're like super matte finish as well. So you'll see things like my Plague Bearer's swords or any of the energy weapons on the Death Guard. You'll see it in the Great Unclean Ones like jewels, and like a lot of things like the eyeballs of different demons has this kind of very hyper saturated green. And for me, that's kind of what became warp energy. Like I was thinking, you know, when you think of the warp and you think of the roiling madness that it is, like what color would it be? Like at first I was like, maybe it would be purple, but I was like, no, I can't do like an accent of purple. You know, we're already purple, but you know, green could be in there, you know what I mean? Like a very like dark and ominous energy of deep space, right? So I wanted to start using that green all across, and I really liked the effect when I added some washes to it, and it almost reminded me of something from Lord of the Rings, like the Nazgul or something would have. So it became really kind of a staple color in the Purple Plague's force, and I'm really excited to kind of have it dispersed through everything as kind of like this powerful accent color. So the birth of the Purple Plague happened shortly after that Death Guard video last year, when I started painting 90 Plague Bearers to go to Adepticon. I needed the backbone of like any good 40k army, you need lots of troops. And for me, I was expanding into Chaos Demons a little bit more, and I wanted to paint up 90 Plague Bearers because I was like, I'll be good forever, like I won't need any more troops. And I was able to crank out 30 of these guys every 2 weeks. So for about a 6-week period, all I did was paint Plague Bearers, and it kind of really gave me all the ideas and kind of the meditation as I was painting to where I want to go with this army. And it caught on with me, right? Like any of Nurgle's diseases, the Purple Plague had kind of festered and then kind of corrupted me to start doing everything else. Because I had already started painting, for instance, Korvax and a Great Unclean One in different colors, and like, no, we got to go and we got to shift into the purple now. Not to be outdone, the Death Guard had realized that, you know, maybe this is the true element of Nurgle, and they quickly started changing over their battle plate. They started repainting their vehicles, and any new vehicles that were getting added to the collection, like my Mephitic Blight Haulers, my Plagueburst Crawlers, which weren't in the army last year, all of them were now being outfitted to kind of pay homage to the Purple Plague itself with very strong purple color tones. Some of my favorite units from this army are obviously the classic heroes like Typhus, who I've done up in the Purple Plague armor. He was one of the first to realize the greatness of the Purple Plague, and he had to have a set of armor made just to pay kind of tribute to this new strain of Nurgle disease. This only gathered more favor from the Nurgle demons as they started to fight alongside Typhus and his Death Guard. And so as it went, more and more of the Death Guard started shifting to the Purple Plague because they saw the great power that was driven from the warp to fight alongside the Death Guard. Now I love units like Korvax Utterblight. He's a Forge World unit. Doing him up in the Purple Plague colors I think was very exciting and different, and certainly when I went down to Adepticon and brought out my army and put it out, people were stoked, like, oh, purple Nurgle, like, you know, this is really cool and like interesting and like different. Like I don't see a ton of purple Nurgle demons. I don't know anybody in my local scene doing it, but I'm happy to do it because it's my thing. And after that, it just went from finishing 90 Plague Bearers to now, okay, what toys can we add to this Nurgle demons army? And you know, who can we paint up next in terms of big tanks and stuff? So we had our Great Unclean Ones. Mortarion was already starting to go in the purple direction, but he decided to keep his classic Barbaran plate green because he's the Lord of the Death Guard. Like he goes back a little bit further than this new strain of Nurgle, the Purple Plague coming out of the warp. So he's kind of going to stay classic, but a lot of those vehicles and stuff, as they're destroyed when they're being repurposed by the Death Guard Legion, they're being patched up with new kind of purple battle plates. So that's exciting. One of my new favorite units that I started playing with last year, but is also just something that I painted that I really liked, are the Foul Blight Spawns. Now, these guys, I included their slime that they have as that same green that I was talking about They have a very dynamic purple look to them, and this was something that I developed with an airbrush as I started airbrushing last year, and that was a huge part in learning how to paint this army very quickly, because it's a matter of washes and zenithal priming. And using purples, especially with Death Guard armor, I can quickly build up all that nice color saturation on the purple armor and then kind of paint in the gold trim and stuff. So we're breezing through the more mortal followers of the Purple Plague now, and it's really starting to look impressive as a massive fighting force. Another couple favorite units that I had was the Mephitic Blight Haulers. These guys were one of the first Death Guard vehicles that went full Purple Plague out of the gate, because they were not in my collection. They were not with the classic Death Guard that I had started painting. And I had painted this one as a test model because I had 2 more on the way. And my good friend Donald Neely over at Idle Hands helped me paint up the other 2, and he did a phenomenal job, as you can see here. This guy himself is probably one of my favorite units in my entire Warhammer collection, is Gulbarax, the Pale King. He is the Death Guard Demon Prince that has led us across countless battles. He has been to almost every tournament that I've been to, and he has a great respect amongst the Nurgle demons and the Death Guard for his acts of heroism, sacrifice, and he actually was fully green last year. If you remember back in the previous video, his skin was all green, and I had recolored him because he completely decided when he was thrown back to the warp from being killed in battle at some point that when he was to be reborn, it was going to be in the new colors of the true power of the galaxy, which is now the Purple Plague. Other than that, the army is still largely a work in progress. Like, Plagueburst Crawlers have been recolored, but I would say they're not finished yet. Like, I still have a lot of weathering stuff that I want to do with them. And I'm starting to tie in colors of orange. Like, Necrosius is another one of my favorite models. Like, he's very orange, but he's also, it's orange and purple. So you still have that green accent, and it's a nice kind of color scheme going with just those 3 strong colors. But the purple is still very dominant, and the Purple Plague is still very dominant in both my gameplay time and my painting schedule. So it's really fun to use these colors, and I'm constantly searching now for new palettes of purple that I'm working with. So I've been exploring, you know, so many different kinds of paints because the purple just kind of took over. There's not a whole lot of paint in the Citadel range for purple that isn't like a pastel color, so I had to start searching other brands of paint. And you can see here there's different tones of purple through the army, which I think is kind of cool. It is a Chaos army, remembering that it doesn't have to be uniform, and the Purple Plague has different stages of growth. So you can see it in its earlier stages, you can see it in a more of an experimental phase, and I'm really quite proud of that. So as the Purple Plague continues to ravage the galaxy, I'm really excited to kind of see where this army continues to take me into the next year. Certainly they're at many tournaments in the local area. Like, I love running Nurgle in a tournament, and these guys have been to many tournaments in the past year with me. I'd love to try to get an Apocalypse game going where I use all my Death Guard and all my Nurgle demons. I really like the new Apocalypse rule set that came out, so maybe stay tuned for seeing the whole army in its entirety on the tabletop, and I think that would just be crazy to see. Like, I don't know how it would go or how long it would take to play, but I think it would certainly be something to behold, and I'd be excited to do that for you guys. Thanks for watching, all you true followers of Nurgle. Hit that like button for me, and I hope you guys get to play against, or at least play around, the Purple Plague in the upcoming tournament season. Thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Sponsored by...
Thank you guys for continuing to support us here at Anvil of War. If you like these videos, please like, share, and subscribe them with your friends, and we'll see you on the next one. It wasn't the Purple Plague a year ago, so now it's the Purple Plague.
Now it's the Purple Plague.
Yeah, a year ago it was just, this is my Death Guard collection. That's it for that.